Hi, tonight we're going to talk about production. Production processes are the backbone of your ability to create and sustain effective profit margins. Now, this is, everybody thinks about sales, yet if you really look at sales, you got a gross margin. And the gross margin is dependent upon what were your direct costs associated with delivering, designing, creating, and getting your products or services to your customers. So tonight we're going to talk about production and the major business processes contained within this group. Okay, so I want to start. And by the way, I'm Voss Graham. I am the CEO of Interactive Consulting Group. I have over 36 years of successful experience as an entrepreneur. I actually call myself the organizational architect these days because I take all of the processes and make sure that your company is running well to grow, to effectively grow, and be profitable at the same time. So let's dive into the production processes. There's several that we need to focus on or discuss tonight. I'm going to start with design. That's an overly used term in a lot of cases. You think of websites and that sort of thing, but what we're talking about here is the actual design of your products, or if you're a retail, how are you designing your displays to capture the customer's attention in a very, very busy, distraction-based world or environment that we live in today. So your design has to be attractive and functional. Think of Apple as one of the leaders in design. Even their boxes and packaging is designed to give the customer an experience that they would not normally receive when they get a product over the counter or through the mail, and they open it up, and I mean it's got all kind of connections, and it's pretty. I mean, the boxes are pretty. Can you believe that? And then the design is made for ease of use in most cases, but it's also very attractive to look at. And there's other organizations that do the same. They focus on design. They involve their customers, but they also involve creative, innovative people to create new designs that attract the customers. And particularly with all the neuroscience information available today in marketing, and what is it that customers are really truly looking for, the closer you can get to these neuromarketing or neuroscience triggers, the faster they will buy. All right, purchasing. Purchasing is probably an area that gets beat up a lot. They're usually procurement folks, instead of folks that are really looking at how do we optimize and maximize our profitability for the company. Now, a true manufacturing organization will be paying attention to just-in-time delivery of inventories and parts and this sort of thing. And purchasing is a key component of that. They have to be able to purchase the right products for the right designs and and exactly what your goals and objectives are for your company. Purchasing is a critical area, but it's usually housed or staffed by bean counters who are just looking at an acquisition cost rather than the actual value added cost or investment, for that matter, if you want to look at it that way. I know that by using inventory management controls with the purchasing group, you can actually save anywhere, depending on the size of your organization, millions of dollars to hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands of dollars by just paying attention to what you have to do relative to warehousing of products, storage, space on the product lines. I mean, if you've got more space on the product lines, you can actually build more products and improve production elements right there. Now, assembly. assembly is an area that also includes a lot of areas. From if you're a distributor, you could actually assemble parts for your customers and give them in a already assembled format. I know I prefer to buy things as a consumer that are already built rather than me having to build them. Where when I was younger, I was energetic and I would get excited about building stuff, and that was fun. Today, it's more of a work element because as you age, your hands are just not as strong as they used to be, and therefore, twisting a screwdriver and doing all kind of hijinks with your hands and balancing and whatnot, just not quite as easy. So assembly is cool. Also, it can become a profit point if you assemble things from other organizations into one bag. I know one client of mine actually started bagging products, and they were able to do it very cheaply by locating certain areas of people. Even within this United States, they could find people, disabled organizations, etc., that would do it very cost effectively because they just wanted to get their people working. And it was a win-win in situation for the client. And anyway, it's just an area that needs to be explored, assembly. And also the assembly could be in the final product. You may get parts from everywhere and then have to assemble the final product on your location. And you've got to look at, constantly look at your cost factors, efficiency, how well you're lining everything up. Now, then we get into line production. Now, this is an area that's it's a little outside my expertise. I am familiar with it, but it's basically having the most effective layouts for your line production where everything moves smoothly and concurrently. I've seen it in the clients that I've worked with. I've gone into their operations areas. I've actually visualized how they're moving products through a process. And it's not like the Model T was the first production line, and you can still do production line assembly, but you've got to realize that it needs to be a free flowing, just one station right after another. Whether you have robotics involved in your manufacturing, or if it's just manual labor, or if you have very expensive capital investment machines. I know in the paper industry, the actual paper machines, you hear that term, that can be a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that fills up a huge building. So line production, it's all about the flow of the process. And I'm going to link that to another category just below this in line production, which you got to be paying attention to. Inventory. Earlier, I mentioned just-in-time delivery. Inventory is a critical aspect you have to be paying attention to. You could run up cost real fast by over purchasing and getting too much inventory that may be obsolete. Particularly if you're a distribution house, you have to monitor the amount of what we call dead inventory that's not moving, it's not tracking. This is where data comes into play. You've got to track your data on a regular basis to make sure that things are moving and turning. Remember, I talked about velocity earlier. I'll continue to talk about that as we go through the operations sides. The velocity, the turns, how often is things moving is a critical aspect. But you should have minimum balances for the inventory and maximum, and stay within that range. These are determined by a concept called SPC, which is Statistical Process Control. This was invented by Demings back in back pre-World War II. He was working on tracking data, and he created this system along with another gentleman, and I believe it was with Westinghouse that they originally did it, and it was extremely effective. I know it expanded into other markets and was the driving force behind total quality, which is the next element of quality control. Quality control. Please don't confuse quality control with just checking what you've made or what's been serviced, etc., at the end and expect that to be a quality control movement. No, quality control is a process. It's an ongoing from start to finish, and you're tracking things. This is why I like Deming's material so much, is because he had the 14 points that you had to deliver on to have total quality in your product design, manufacturing, etc. And he had a way of tracking statistics and creating systems. Now, systems is a very important concept, but he actually created an upper limit for tolerances and a lower limit for tolerances, and tracked that as the products were being made. And if the variance, if one all of a sudden there was aberration and it moved outside the control zone, we knew that something was up. Now, in his way of thinking, at that point, the production line would stop if it was a trend. Now, if it's an aberration, it just happened once, that might be just a rare occasion. So that's why the statistics were so important. But if you tracked it for a short period of time and the trend line was definitely outside of the standard operating zone, then you knew you had a problem and something had to be fixed. And we've seen problems with my clients from such mundane factors as the humidity within the building. Humidity can have an effect on tolerances. So can heat and cold. And these factors all have to be included in the thought process of what's going on with your statistical process control, and therefore your total quality of whatever you're manufacturing. And service companies should not be devoid of having consistent checks on the service quality. If it's not if you're not providing the services at a very high rate with few errors, the goal is zero. And if you attain that, great. But if you don't attain it, and it's you can only hope that you make minor mistakes and errors and that can be corrected quickly. Major mistakes, that's a different ball game. That requires some deep thought and solutions, problem solving, critical thinking type activities. Now then you have you have shipping, receiving, and delivery, all kind of lumped together, but another word for that is supply chain. Supply chain. How's it coming in? How's it going out? And again, the ease of effort for in and out is extremely important. I know today they have sophisticated abilities in the area and technology in the area of inventory control. You have not only the barcodes, which was kind of an older technology that's still being used today, but you also had the ability for I think it's called RFDs, or it's radio frequencies, where you can actually pick up and figure out what where the products are within the maze of the warehouse. Now, in some cases, it's so sophisticated they even have electronic or automated systems where there's actually no human being involved in the picking of inventory. It's just kind of an electronic robot slash forklift that goes out, finds the product, brings it back to the staging area, puts it down, and and then moves on to the next order. it's an amazing process to witness. I know there's an Italian company that kind of control the market with software and abilities to do this at one time. It's probably expanded since the last time I was engaged in that depth of inventory control. But that's just something that you need to be aware of and think about, because it is a way to optimize your profitability within the company, and it's a necessary function. It cannot be overlooked. And if your background is in sales and marketing, well, then you're probably least likely to pay close attention to the production and the next topic, which we're coming up to in the tomorrow, would be operations. So we've got to pay attention to where is your industry going? What's the technology? Do you have outdated technology for the volume or the level of volume that you're now marketing? And how do you control that relative to making sure that orders are accurate and delivery is accurate? That is a high priority for your major accounts, for sure. And even the smaller accounts that depend upon your products or services require total quality. So the final part here is training. You should always be training your people and helping them understand, even training them in the areas of computers, maybe technology, programming, controlling the type of machinery, getting into joint ventures with the local community colleges or in industrial training facilities to make sure that you can create a steady flow of trained and ready to go people, because I know that that's a talent gap. We don't have as many talented people making the turn. As your boomers retire, there will be a gap in knowledge and understanding of how things should be or could be, and that will require more training and education, getting these people that are retiring to share what they know before they leave with the younger talent that's coming on board. Teach them the ins and outs of how it has been, what happened in the past, the little history, and then connect the dots relative to production. It's a great profession if you enjoy using your hands and doing going out of your way to make things happen. I know that we had a lot of fun working with a maintenance team for a large company where we actually did personal development. And it was interesting because we taught them how to do serious problem solving. And then one supervisor that was in that group knew that a particular machine, now this is one of these really expensive machines that, I'm talking $1 million plus investment, actually hundreds of millions, no, millions of dollars investment in this. And every once in a while it would break down, and it's kind of like consistently. And they kept kind of band-aiding it because it kept breaking down about every month. So after he had gone through the personal development and he learned about what true problem solving was about and coming up with a solution, and that he was actually responsible to get that job done, well, then he hunkered down and dug into the machine and really got into it to find the core cause. There's a cause and effect for everything that happens. So he found the core cause and corrected it. And then, surprise, surprise, the machine didn't break down the next month or the next month. And they calculated it very quickly. And they said just that one person making a difference inside the production unit through maintenance was able to make enough money for all of the training that we've had in the company for the last year and a half. So that was like recouping the cost of dead time when the machine went down and nothing came out the other end. And these are companies that depend upon constant production. I mean, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Very little scheduled downtime because they're a capacity capacity-driven company. And I can talk about that later as we get into strategy. So anyway, I just want to say that there's many things that you can do. Oh, I even missed on one, like inventory and assembly and purchasing design and all this is a concept called outsourcing. In some cases, you can find people who are more talented to handle certain subparts of your production processes that you can outsource to, and they will still maintain the high quality standards that you require. So that's just another element that you can look at as a leader. What could we do to improve our company and make sure that the profitability of our company is high and higher, that we're maximizing our dollars and our returns on dollars, be it return on investment, return on assets, or return on revenues. So with that, I want to close out tonight's feature live and just say thank you. If you're watching this later, you understand that I'm not selling anything here yet. I'm made later, but not now. And I'm not asking you to log in, opt in or anything of this nature, just trying to help educate the leaders, leave something behind, which was my original objective. And I thank you for your time, and I look forward to sharing operations. So a little different look at operations, yet it could be combined easily with production, depending on the type of company that you have. So thank you very much. Take care. Bye.